Daily devotions for November 13th. Today's scripture will be 1 Chronicles 20, verses 1 and 2. It happened in the spring of the year at the time when kings go out to battle that Joab led the armed forces and ravaged the country of the people of Ammon and came and besieged Rabbah. But David stayed at Jerusalem, and Joab defeated Rabbah and overthrew it. Then David took the king's crown from his head and found it to weigh a talent of gold, and there were precious stones in it. And it was set on David's head, and he brought out the spoil of the city in great abundance. Now, I want to remind you, this is one account of that story when kings go out to battle. The other one is in the springtime. That's when they went, okay? If you look back at 2 Samuel 11, it says the same thing. In the springtime of the year, when the kings went out to battle, David remained at Jerusalem. And of course, that's when he saw Bathsheba bathing. So you have to read both to get the story. But in this account, the focus is not on the affair of Bathsheba and the killing of her husband Uriah, but more on what happened here in the battle. But what stood out to me when I read that this morning, in fact, that's what the Lord had me to read, it's that I believe that's where pride really rose up in David. There was a change taking place in him. Okay, he had a change of life, and I call this a precaution, because he did not do what he should have done. He should have gone out to battle, but instead he sent Joab in his place, and then here's the king. They bring the king's crown, okay, and he saw all the riches, okay, and oftentimes things look very enticing to us. But what he did, this king, okay, he was, I don't think he was king for very long at this point. His father was for David, where this king was younger, and he was definitely against David. So I think there was pride in that young man. And now David, he sees all the gold, all the glory. He sees the big stones, the precious stones that are there. And he puts that crown on his head. I believe there's a real pride that rose up in him. And it's at the same time, and I don't know which came first, but it's at the same time that he fell into sin with Bathsheba. I think he had a different perspective. He was not doing what he was called to do, and that was to lead the army. And, you know, he made other choices. And sometimes we do that, and we can fall into traps of the enemy. And definitely David was trapped by the enemy. Now, would have he, you know, still married Bathsheba? There's a good possibility that that would have happened. You know, maybe Uriah would have been killed in battle, you know, on without David's help, let's put it that way. But, you know, because Solomon definitely was supposed to be king, if you understand what I'm saying. But, you know, we can oftentimes take things into our own hands. And here I think pride really rose up in David, and he was not where he was supposed to be, when he was supposed to be, and he got off track. And even, well, we'll talk about it tomorrow's scripture, but, you know, we need to stay on track with the Lord and follow him at all times. Be where we're supposed to be. You know what I always say? Stay in your own lane. I know recently I was visiting somewhere, and people were trying to get me to go with them to do a certain thing, which I was never called to do. Now, maybe they were. I am not. And, you know, is it scriptural? Yes. Was I called to do it? No. And I said to these people, you must stay in your own lane. Okay, I've got to do what God's calling me to do and keep my focus there. And the same thing, they need to go do what he's called them to do. Okay, don't try to get in somebody else's lane. Okay, stay straight, stay on the right path with the Lord. If he calls you to go do something, go do it. Otherwise, keep doing what you're doing unless he tells you to go do something else. Okay, all righty. Till next time, be blessed.